Welcome back, my dear students. We are now going to do chapter number 1, which is a compilation and synopsis of the whole syllabus that you have done, which is chapter 1, introduction to your micro and your macro syllabus. When we talk about the word microeconomics, यहाँ पे जब हम microeconomics की बात करते हैं students, so यहाँ पे जब I, it represents the individual approach. Here when we talk about the macro, this A represents the aggregate approach, right? So in the whole chapter, the features of micro, the features of macro. जो हम हेड पॉइंट्स पढ़ेंगे रेप्लिका ऑपोजिट आपका मैक्रो में रहेगा. द स्कोप ऑफ माइक्रो, द स्कोप ऑफ मैक्रो, विच इज ऑब्जेक्टिव. The importance and significance of micro, the importance significance of macroeconomics. But the most important question from this chapter that you have to study is the definition of both and then the features of micro and your macroeconomics, which is for 4 marks. So दोनों में से एक या तो माइक्रो या मैक्रो, दोनों में से एक फीचर्स तो पक्का एग्जाम में पूछा जाता ही. और दे आस्क द डिस्टिंग्विश बिटवीन माइक्रो मैक्रो, or they ask you in the agree disagree part. Microeconomics is same as macro, so I disagree. और जब आप disagree लिखते हो तो then you explain the differentiated points, why are they different from each other, right? So the micro and the macroeconomics part. So what is economics? Because it's the first initial chapter of the syllabus. So it has been derived from the Greek word oikonomia, oikonomos, which means the household, and the nomos, the nomia means management. So we talk about the household management. So household management, of course, we are not talking about jhadu pota marna or bartan gisna, right? We are talking about the income and the expenditure. How do we manage our finances? How do we manage our wants, our demand? With respect to that, then it is nothing but the household management. Silent पे कर रही थी. So that is the household management. We talk about the income and the expenditure. We talk about the demand. We talk about our wants, right? So then we move ahead our limited income, the limited resources, and ye dil mange more, and the unlimited wants, right? So this is a study of economics which is classified into micro and macro part. In micro and macro, this is individual's approach, this aggregate approach. This term of micro and macro, see, who is the father of economics? Adam Smith. But who coined the concept of micro and macro? He was Sir Ragnar Fresh. In their 1933, he did that in the Oslo University in 1933, where he coined the concept of micro and macroeconomics. Yeah, so micro has been derived from the Greek word micro, C is replaced by the letter K, and macro has been derived from the Greek word macro. So again, C is replaced by the letter K. So individual firm, individual household, individual prices, सब कुछ individual जब हम बात कर रहे हैं तो ये है हमारा microeconomics. So here we are going to see the definition of microeconomics, which is according to Kenneth Boulding. So microeconomics is a study of particular firm, particular household, individual price, individual wages, individual industries, particular commodities. हर एक variable के आगे एक prefix है, individual, individual, particular, particular, because we are emphasizing on the microeconomics part, right? वही अगर आप macro का बात करोगे तो not with individual but with aggregate, right? So again the comparison, as I told you. Maurice Dobb, another economist, who said that it is in fact a microscopic study of the whole economy. So microscopic, the use of microscopic studying in detail, minute detail, एक individual का individual पढ़ना, individualistic approach पढ़ना, microscopic study करना. So that is a individual part. So the subject and the scope matter of microeconomics. So it is based on प्रोडक्ट प्राइसिंग. माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स से हम प्रोडक्ट का प्राइस डिटरमाइन कर सकते हैं विद द हेल्प ऑफ डिमांड एंड सप्लाई. स्टूडेंट्स, इफ यू रिमेंबर, वी आर डिटरमाइंड द इक्विलिब्रियम प्राइस. सो माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड एज अ प्राइस थ्योरी. व्हाई? बिकॉज हम प्रोडक्ट का प्राइस उससे डिटरमाइन करते हैं. देयरफॉर दैट इज अ पार्ट ऑफ आवर माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स सिलेबस. यू कैन सी इट ओवर हियर. डिमांड एंड सप्लाई के बेसिस पे हमने प्राइस को डिटरमाइन किया. इट इज ऑल्सो द थ्योरी ऑफ फैक्टर प्राइसिंग, जहां पे हम लैंड को रेंट, लेबर को वेजेस, कैपिटल को इंटरेस्ट, एंटरप्रेन्योर को प्रॉफिट, ये सब डिटरमाइन करते हैं. अगेन इट्स अबाउट इंडिविजुअल फर्म, राइट? द फैक्टर पेमेंट्स दैट वी डू, एंड देयरफॉर अगेन दैट इज द सब्जेक्ट एंड स्कोप मैटर ऑफ माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स. एंड इकोनॉमिक वेलफेयर में हम लोग वेरिएबल मल्टीपर्पज में यूज करते हैं. जैसे वी टॉक अबाउट द इकोनॉमिक एफिशिएंसी इन प्रोडक्शन, देन वी कंसीडर इट इन कंजम्पशन, एंड देन वी कंसीडर इट इन ओवरऑल इकोनॉमिक वेलफेयर. सो प्रोडक्शन, कंजम्पशन, ओवरऑल इकोनॉमिक वेलफेयर. यहाँ पे एक चेंज है, ये एफिशिएंसी इन प्रोडक्शन, ये कंजम्पशन, और यहाँ पे आना चाहिए एफिशिएंसी इन द ओवरऑल इकोनॉमिक वेलफेयर, क्योंकि प्रोडक्शन वापस रिपीट हो गया. ओके, सो प्रोडक्शन, कंजम्पशन एंड ओवरऑल इकोनॉमिक वेलफेयर. So then when we talk about overall economic welfare production में हमें ध्यान रखना है कि हम लोग efficiently कम से कम वेस्टेज में कैसे और एक additional चीज सेम इनपुट से आउटपुट बना सकते हैं. कंजम्पशन में हमें ध्यान रखना है कि हम ओवरऑल हमारे कम से कम पैसों में ज्यादा से ज्यादा बेनिफिट कैसे उठा सकते हैं डिस्काउंट ऑफर्स में. ओवरऑल इकोनॉमिक एफिशिएंसी में हमें ध्यान रखना है. So overall economic efficiency, production, consumption, everything that we have to make sure about it, right? So it's price theory, allocation of resources, overall subject matter and the scope matter of microeconomics. ये आप skip कर सकते हो. Yeah, so here comes the first question, which is features of microeconomics. As I said, features जो आप यहाँ पढ़ोगे 4 mark question, exact opposite आपको macro में करना है. So what are the features for 4 marks? Very first is study of individual units. एक ही individual के बारे में, एक ही company का, एक ही इंसान का, एक ही state का, एक ही school का, एक ही college का, एक ही class का study करना. That's a study of individual unit. Like for example, we are talking about all the products, all the teachers, everyone, all students. But it with respect to TCH, it's one of the educational institution. It's a study of individual unit. वही जब आप macro में बात कर रहे हो, इसका exactly opposite बात कर रहे हैं, तो then that would be a part of study of aggregate unit, right, students? So see, the distinguished part as well. The second feature, it is called as a price theory. Just now we studied with the help of demand and supply. We have determined the equilibrium price, and therefore microeconomics is called as a प्राइस थियोरी. वही जब हम मैक्रो की बात करते हैं तो मैक्रो में आता है इट इज कॉल्ड एज अ इनकम थ्योरी, बिकॉज वी डिटरमाइन द इनकम विद द हेल्प ऑफ एम्प्लॉयमेंट, विद द हेल्प ऑफ प्रोडक्शन दैट वी हैव डन. Then economics, in microeconomics we are using the slicing method because we are not studying the whole economy. We are dividing, we are segregating into parts, and we are studying in detail a microscopic study about one unit. So in micro it's a slicing method, and in macro it's a lumping method. Then we are studying about the partial equilibrium. So partially study करना, एक part को study करना. So again that is a part of partial equilibrium. वही जब हम macro पढ़ेंगे, it's a generic, it's a general equilibrium. So economy में study करना partially one particular unit, one particular department. So it's a partial equilibrium, right, students? And then over there it would be general equilibrium. Then moving ahead with the next feature. Use of marginalism principle, students. Marginalism principle you have studied in chapter 2. As I said, it's a synopsis of the whole syllabus. Law of diminishing marginal utility. Marginal मतलब additional, change, extra कितना आया, MU पढ़ा, MC पढ़ा, MR पढ़ा. So these are all a part of the marginalism principle which you have studied in the microeconomics part, right? जैसे जैसे हम हमारा consumption बढ़ाते हैं तो कहने से हमारा marginal utility उतना diminish होते जाता है, because हमारा पेट उतना भरते जाता है. That was a law of diminishing marginal utility. Then here comes the next feature, that it is based on certain assumptions. याद कीजिए, law of demand assumptions, law of supply assumptions, law of DMU assumptions. जब जब law पढ़ रहे थे तब तब हम लोग ने क्या पढ़ा है, उसके assumptions पढ़े हैं. So all assumptions, see, in realistic terms if we talk about, they are vague, they are hypothetical. यार no change in income ये कैसे possible है? But just to make the law valid, we have assumed that these will remain constant. There would be no change in that, and therefore it is based on certain assumptions. I hope you are getting it. That's again one of the feature. But again macro की बात करेंगे तो वो assumption पे based नहीं है, वो real terms पे based है, right? Then we have limited scope because we are studying about one individual company, one individual firm, so it has got a very limited scope. वही अगर हम macro की बात करेंगे, देश level की बात करेंगे, then it has got a wider scope, right, students? So here it has got the limited scope. Simultaneously you might have seen all the distinguished points are getting connected over here. Then analysis of the market structure. Remember students, chapter number 5 क्या पढ़ा आपने उसमें? monopoly, oligopoly, monopolistic competition, perfect competition. So again आपने market structure को analyze किया on the basis of various parts, various time, places, location, competition. That was a part of microeconomics, and therefore you have analyzed the market structure again in the microeconomics part. Monopoly, single seller, oligopoly, few sellers, competition, multiple sellers, right? So then here we complete the features of microeconomics, students. Then we move ahead with the importance. Again that would be moreover an objective oriented part. Why microeconomics को पढ़ना जरूरी है? क्यों हमें माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स को पढ़ना चाहिए? सो इट इज टू स्टडी द फ्री मार्केट इकोनॉमी, व्हाट टू प्रोड्यूस, हाउ टू प्रोड्यूस, गवर्नमेंट का इंटरवेंशन काफी कम रहेगा, लेजेस फेयर पॉलिसी रहेगी. सो इंडिविजुअल कंपनी को स्टडी करने के लिए ऑफ कोर्स देन दे हैव टू मेक देयर बिजनेस डिसीजंस अकॉर्डिंगली, and therefore studying microeconomics is equivalently important. You can see the questions over here. The business decides their own, right? सो फ्री मार्केट इकोनॉमी, इट्स नॉट फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट स्टूडेंट्स. फ्री मार्केट मतलब जहां पे गवर्नमेंट का इंटरवेंशन काफी कम होता है, लेस मिनिमलिस्टिक गवर्नमेंट इंटरवेंशन, सो दैट द बिजनेस फर्म कैन डिसाइड ऑन इट्स ओन. Then we have the price determination students. प्राइस थ्योरी कहते हैं. सो डिमांड सप्लाई के बेसिस पे हम डिटरमाइन करते हैं हमारे प्राइस को. सो ऑफ कोर्स उसके लिए माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स को जानना जरूरी है कि हम हमारे प्रोडक्ट के प्राइस को डिटरमाइन कर सके. बिजनेसमैन के लिए डिसीजन मेकिंग के लिए, बिकॉज इट्स अबाउट एन इंडिविजुअल यूनिट, इट इज यूजिंग द स्लाइसिंग मेथड. आई एम स्टडिंग माई इकोनॉमी, माई सब्जेक्ट, माई क्लासेस, एवरीथिंग इन डिटेल. तो ऑफकोर्स मुझे मेरे अकॉर्डिंगली बिजनेस डिसीजन मेकिंग में काम आएगा. भाई रिलायंस है, वो थोड़ी ना पूरे देश का डिसीजन लेने वाले अंबानी. ऑफकोर्स वो उसके बिजनेस को लेके, उसके इंडिविजुअल कंपनी को लेके उसके डिसीजन मेकिंग में रहेगा. सो अगेन दैट इज अ पार्ट ऑफ माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स, एंड देयरफॉर studying microeconomics is important, because then the businessmen have to take the decisions accordingly. They are not going to take it for the whole nation, they are going to take it for their own business. Of course it's useful to the government for framing the policies, the monetary policy, the fiscal policy, for determining the taxation. So see for example over here we all know that habitual product, right? So of course uska consumption kam hona chahiye bolke taxes badhaya. Ill effect, revenue बढ़ गया, because it was a habitual commodity, they did not stop it irrespective of the price. So it's useful for the government for framing the different policies, fiscal, monetary and the taxation policies as well. Then it is important to understand the foreign trade. As we all know, India being the biggest importer of crude oil, of course अगर गल्फ कंट्रीज में कुछ हो जाता है, हम काफी उन पे डिपेंडेंट है, तो हम लोग को फर्क पड़ेगा कि नहीं पड़ेगा. सो टू अंडरस्टैंड द फॉरेन ट्रेड, इट इज इक्विवेलेंटली इंपॉर्टेंट to understand the microeconomics policy, right students? Yeah, so here the forex will come because it's foreign trade. Of course हम लोग को foreign exchange लगेंगे. India's BOP situation, we all know, where the imports are more than the exports, so of course again it is going to be important. Economic model building, there was a Mahalanobis model used to tell, hey poor, hey rich, चल तेरे benefit poor को transfer कर. Of course that's not simple, that's not practical यार. बताइए आप, अगर कोई रिच है तो उसको क्या झाड़ पे पैसा लग रहा है, वो क्या उसका बेनिफिट पुअर को देगा? Of course so can I say in economics model building, the model says that it should be transferred to the poor, but actually it's not done. Again the model building is emphasizing on one particular model because it is a part of microeconomic syllabus. वही अगर कोई लॉ आता है तो वो देश के लिए अप्लाई हो जाता है, right? But because it's microeconomics, it is based on the economic model building, where there are some economists who give their laws, there are some economists who give their theories and all, right? Then we have the basis of welfare economics. Welfare economics, we talk about, it is based on production, it's based on consumption, overall economic welfare that we studied. So we have to make sure that with the same level of input, without any wastage, we are having an additional output. That's an efficiency, an overall economic efficiency, right students? So here we complete the microeconomics part, where you study the scope, where you study the features, which is an important question, and then the importance for your understanding. In the next module we are going to talk about the macroeconomics. Okay, so same, the scope, the features and the importance. Thank you.